Sex sells. We've all heard this before, and television has certainly seen it sell well. As much as we've seen sexualization in promotional and advertising content, the over-sexualization of young women, in particular, has seeped into the programming itself. Whether it's a reality television show or a fictional serial, television has been sexually charged to a problematic degree, exploiting the female body to boost ratings and capture the attention of audiences. Currently, shows such as Riverdale and The Bachelor highlight the lack of progress made to display women more than sexual objects, focusing on their bodies, dressing them in minimal clothing, and exploiting the expression of sexuality through its oversaturation on screen. So let's start with Riverdale. While loosely based on the Archie comic books popular in the 1950s, the show has taken off as a teen murder mystery that increased its appeal and relevance in modern television by depicting high school sophomores Betty Cooper and Veronica Lodge as hypersexual young women. In this reboot, Betty and Veronica become characters to ogle, as the costume designer has put them in tight, curve-hitting short clothing, or sometimes in this case, lacy lingerie. Through the clothing choices made for them in the show, and the way the camera forces the audience to gawk at them, their scenes become far less about the plot and more about their sexuality and their body. Yes, teens have sex, and TV shouldn't avoid talking about it in shows that depict teenage life. But as Gianluca Russo states for Teen Vogue, while shows are entirely within their right to acknowledge the fact that yes, teenagers can be sexually active, it's worrying that storylines would dive into these themes without moving the plot along in a meaningful way. Look at the depiction of Dark Betty, an alter ego created to retrieve a confession from a schoolmate's assaulter. Because of the over-sexualization manifesting in her look, the way the camera fragments her most sensual body parts, and the steamy location it is set in, we lose the intent behind the scene. It becomes about how Betty is scary hot, and not about the story being told. While Riverdale does give its female characters agency when it comes to their sexuality and the expression of it, it fails its viewers by often positioning them as objects of the camera's gaze. This is true when discussing Betty Cooper's Mad World rendition, where she performs a striptease and pole dance in the South Side Serpent's go-to bar to impress her boyfriend and fit in with his new crowd. This scene seems shockingly out of character, as it is not the already established Dark Betty, or an action that wholesome Betty Cooper would do. This young woman sings seductively into camera and to her boyfriend, removing her clothing and in no way pushes the plot forward. It's just a musical sexual aside. Our viewing instead becomes an act of scopophilia through the male gaze, a theory originally brought forth by Laura Mulvey that states that the camera consumes and sexualizes the fragmented female body, exploiting sexual pleasure derived from looking at erotic objects. Betty Cooper and the young women in Riverdale are these erotic objects, and in Betty's case are later punished for their sexualization through judging gazes and the dismissal of her sexuality.
I have something up my sleeve to make him feel special today.
Like Riverdale, The Bachelor depicts the same over-sexualization of young women, but in a reality television show format. Each season, at least 25 women are invited onto the show to compete for the main male bachelor, with the hopes of ultimately winning the bachelor and getting engaged. Each contestant is made to fill a certain role: the villain, the clear winner, and the gorgeous but not intelligent one. The women on the show are grouped into binding roles and are made to seem obsessive, maniacal, and desperate for the attention of the only male figure on the show. The filming of the show is slightly staged and scripted to enhance and dramatize the plot lines for television. In fact, The Hollywood Reporter announced a significant increase in ratings for a season that was considered to be the most sexualized season since the show began. While the group of women on the show are older than the teenagers in Riverdale and are expected to be more sexually active, their age does not justify the amount of times their bodies are overtly sexualized for the screen. The women on The Bachelor are encouraged to use their bodies rather than their personalities to distinguish themselves from the other women. This signals to the audience that women have to dress and act a certain way in order to garner male attention. The women on the show even hypersexualize themselves when they are alone, signifying that they are meant to not only be objects of pleasure for the bachelor, but also for the audience as well. This ties back to Mulvey's theory that female bodies are consumed not only by the audience, but also by the camera itself. Here's an example of typical behavior amongst the women on the show. The way that Corinne talks about her experiences with The Bachelor exemplifies her sexual mentality.
Yeah, you're having fun.
Nick and I do have a lot of sexual chemistry. There definitely was another spark in that pool. Him holding my bare bosoms. You know, girls were overreacting till he's going home. But at the end of the day, why are we here? I don't have a problem with Liz going home, especially now that I know that she had intercourse with Nick before me. So tonight, I'm gonna do something to one-up anyone around me. I'm confident enough in myself to know, like, I have the it factor that guys really like. I definitely know how to turn on the sex charm, so I don't think he's gonna know what's hit him.
Shows like Riverdale and The Bachelor highlight the lack of progress made in society as women are still shown as sexual objects in television. Instead of recognizing their intellect and talent, television networks such as ABC and the CW focus on female bodies and their sexual activities. Unfortunately, the sexualization of women is still used as a tactic to gain larger audiences and generate more profits, providing fodder for the male gaze and being consumed by the camera. Despite their sexist nature, shows and commercials such as these have proven to be successful as they continue to be made. The way that women are portrayed in film will not change without an overall societal shift in the way that women are treated and valued for more than just their bodies.
It's barbecue's best pair.